What up, YouTube? This is a video I've been meaning to shoot for a long time. This is my homemade gimbal camera stabilizer. I made this for probably about $20 from components I had laying around in my garage and a few pieces that I bought from Home Depot. I looked at a bunch of different YouTube videos, I looked at a bunch of ideas online, I looked at actual handheld fly cam, steady cam gimbal stabilizers that existed, and I built this one based off of ideas that I picked and pulled from different sources essentially. This thing is consisted of basically 4 different parts. You've got the base, this telescoping stand, you have your 3-way moving gimbal, and then you have your cheese plate on the top right here essentially. Now, according to my Instagram page, I built this thing about over 3 years ago. So I honestly don't remember every single aspect, every single nut and bolt that went into it. I don't have a detailed price list for you guys essentially for this thing, but I'm gonna go ahead and walk you through how it works, how I put it together, the components that it's made from, and then obviously at the end, we'll go ahead and demo it and you guys can see how this thing works. So let's go ahead and take a look here. First off, when you take a look at this thing, you're gonna notice the majority of the components come from a Razor scooter here. The gimbal, essentially, the gimbal handle, this revolving portion right here was built from a Razor wheel. This telescoping portion right here, I picked and pulled some pieces off of an old Razor scooter that I had out in the garage I didn't need anymore, and I put this baby together. The wood that's used here is essentially poplar wood that I got from Home Depot. You can buy it very cheaply. I used it because it's light, it's fairly attractive, not very expensive. This wood right here is actually oak. This is just some old trim board, some old baseboard I had laying around in the garage as well. Only the poplar wood and most of the nuts and bolts, I guess, some of the bolt stock for the neck and such came from Home Depot. The majority of the components that are in this, just pieces that I had laying around in my garage. So it was really easy to make this basically, once you just start looking around and seeing what components you have that are available. If you look around your own garage, your own house, I'm sure there's bits and pieces that you can pick and pull apart and assemble something basically that works the same as this does. So the breakdown right here. We've got the foot. This is the part that gives it stability. This is the part that allows it to sit on, also gives it balance when this thing is swinging. This telescoping portion right here makes it longer for if I'm using a bigger camera and I need more weight. I want to go ahead and offset the balance in some way. This gives me more control. I've got the gimbal portion right here. This was built out of one of the wheels from the Razor. So the part that spins in the middle right here is just based off of the bearing. Went ahead and cut it into a square shape, built a little frame around that, inserted 2 more bearings, one that I offset with a router inside this piece of wood, and then one that I put on the outside so that this handle can swing freely, and it also is swinging with the bearing that's on the inside right here. So this whole piece, 1, 2, 3-axis gimbal. And then the cheese plate that's on the top that the camera attaches to. You can adjust these bolts on the side. The whole thing slides forward or slides backwards. And it has these 5 slots that are in the top right here. So the camera can be situated or orientated on any one of these slots, can be moved side to side, forwards or backwards, and then you can do micro movements forwards or backwards. This entire thing was built, like I said, out of components for close to about 20 bucks. I put the whole thing together on the inside with bits of bolt stock that I bought at Home Depot that can be cut to length, and then I attached the majority of it with these threaded collars. You just put on here, screw them on. In the interior of this tube, I have this bolt stock with these threaded collars that are in here that hold these different pieces together. You can see there's one right here, and then I just cut it into bits and attached everything with washers, so you guys can do it as well. It really wasn't that hard. One thing that I did add to the bottom that makes it a little bit different from most people, these 4 holes that are on each side right here line up perfectly with the trucks of a skateboard. So you can actually go ahead and attach skateboard trucks on each side to the bottom of this, and it now becomes a little rolling track dolly as well. Of course, you would have to have a very smooth surface for it to set on, but it actually works pretty well. I also went ahead and put feet on the bottom of this, little rubber feet. Just that way, it sits down, it grips a little bit better, it's a little bit more softer of a landing instead of just sitting on the wood bottom. For adding the weight stability at the bottom, I went ahead and just bought a bunch of washers at Home Depot. You unscrew these babies right here. And then I've got rubber washers on either side of the bolt right here just to keep it from essentially scarring up the wood. And you can go ahead and attach your weights to either side. And then, depending on how much weight you need, you can either add or remove them as well. And you can also move them either forward or in based off of these tracks that are right here. If you need more weight towards the front, you need more weight towards the back, you can adjust it side to side. So once you get it kind of dialed in for your specific camera, you know the amount of weight that you want, you know the length of the post that you like to set it at, you know what track you set your camera in, and maybe how far side to side and how much you move it. It gets pretty quick to go ahead and set the whole thing up. It does take a while to initially get it dialed in, but once you have that, it actually works pretty well. So I know that wasn't an extremely detailed tutorial of how it was all put together, but once you look at it, if you're crafty enough, you can figure out how to put this thing together. The base, the telescoping post, the three-way gimbal access, the cheese plate portion on the top. It's literally just those 4 components. You just build each one, put them all together with the bolt stock, and you have your gimbal. So let's take it outside. Let's do a little walk around and see how it shoots, huh? Alright you guys, so there it is. Here's my gimbal. You more or less saw how I built it. I went ahead and gave you guys a little test demo and showed you how it works. Would I recommend building this gimbal? Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it only cost me about 20 bucks. It was a fun project. Do I think it's as good as any gimbal that you could buy on Amazon? Not really. But then again, those ones are gonna cost you anywhere from $80 for the cheapest one to at least a couple $100, maybe $500 for a good fly cam or steady cam. For me personally, I love gimbals. I've got a gimbal for my GoPro, I've got a gimbal for my cell phone. I'm gonna be getting a gimbal for my Sony mirrorless here very soon. So yeah, I'm a big proponent for gimbals. This was a fun project. For 20 bucks, I'd say that it was well worth it. Let me know what you guys thought. If you guys like this gimbal, you like this video, feel free to subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know.